Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the podcast. My name is Glenn, and I'm here with Adam and Colin, and your Overwatch League news starts now.
One shot, one kill. Cheers, love! The cavalry's here! Nerf this!
Play of the game.
Hey everybody, welcome to the podcast. As always, I am Glenn, and I'm here with Adam
Hey, I'm Adam.
and Colin.
Hey, I'm Colin.
Welcome, guys. Today's episode, we are going to be focusing a little bit on something that I kind of came up with, which is the bracket for our Overwatch League preseason. Now, there is no official bracket released yet by the Overwatch League. This is something that I just kind of came up with, but it'll give us a good opportunity to talk about our matchups, who's going to win what, and our standings going into Season 1. Now, we are aware that the preseason is probably only going to be 2 games each team. As far as we know, that's what we're guessing based on the information we have. But we are gonna see every single team play twice at least. So what we're gonna do now is all 3 of us went through and kind of came up with a list and came up with our matchups and determined who we thought was going to be the winner, our 2 matchups that we want to see the most, and our top 3 power teams. Right, Adam?
Yes, so we're going to be doing a power rankings of the preseason, which teams we think are going to be the strongest
Yes.
coming out of the preseason.
So let's get started. I'm gonna just go ahead and jump in first, and I'm gonna say these are our matchups for those of you that are unaware. Our first game is gonna be our first match. Our first match is gonna be December 6th. The first match will be the Mayhem versus the Fusion. Our second matchup is gonna be the LA Valiant versus San Francisco Shock. And then our third team is going to be our Seoul Dynasty and our Shanghai Dragons. And then on December 7th, we're going to have our LA Gladiators against the London Spitfire. Our second matchup is going to be the Dallas Fuel against the Houston Outlaws. And then our last matchup on December 7th is going to be the New York Excelsior versus our Boston
Uprising.
Boston Uprising.
Boston
Yes.
Uprising. So, how do you see that first match, the Florida Mayhem and the Philadelphia Fusion? How do you see that playing out, Glenn?
I honestly think that our Mayhem is going to win. Now, we are a little
bold claim.
a little biased as a Florida-based podcast. We are going to support our home team as much as possible, but looking at the rosters, looking at what they're bringing to the table, I genuinely think that the Mayhem is gonna win that match. Now, we still don't really have a set of how the matches are gonna lay out, whether it's a best of 5 or a best of 7. But I am assuming we are gonna do a mix between hybrid maps, between escort maps, and control points. And honestly, I think what the Mayhem is bringing to the table, that they are going to be able to really lock down those control points and those hybrid maps, and I think that's really going to help them out. What do you guys think?
Florida-based podcast, I actively support the Mayhem. I'm not going to say anything in particular, but I think the Mayhem has a super difficult battle in front of them. Like the Fusion just has a lot of really top-tier players on it, and
But so do the Mayhem. So let's not.
No, I'm not putting down the Mayhem. I'm just saying that they're going to have a bit of an uphill battle here. I mean, the Fusion has like 4 different coaches, good amount of substitutes. We're honestly going to be going into this league, as much of a scrappy underdog as we can be a scrappy underdog, but that just makes things so much more exciting for us. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to be rooting for the Mayhem the entire time.
I am also going with the Mayhem. I think the Philadelphia Fusion being one of the last 3 teams selected for the Overwatch League is going to hurt them. They haven't had as much time to train together to really get to know each other. And they don't have that repertoire that I think the Mayhem... I think that's going to help carry the Mayhem through the preseason a little bit earlier on in the season.
Agreed.
While teams are still learning each other. I think that the Mayhem are going to greatly benefit from the fact that they know each other already. And also I feel like the Fusion, having, Sato be suspended for 30 games throughout the preseason, I think that's going to be on their minds, and I think that that's going to be a distraction for them.
As far as we know, they have 2 inactive players, correct, on their roster?
Sato and Snillo, which, as we mentioned yesterday, Snillo is listed as inactive. He's the DPS that played alongside TBQ in the Overwatch World Cup for Sweden.
Well, and I think this, if we're going to bring World Cup up, I think that the Mayhem have a particularly good chance. I mean, they all these guys were involved in the World Cup, and I'm pretty sure they came in third. Our team, most of these guys were on.
I'll say that the Mayhem has more people that were prolific in the World Cup, whereas
did well.
Yeah, whereas looking at the Fusion, the only person that really stands out is Joe Meister, who was part of the Canadian team, which of course did come in second when it came down to the World Cup. But that's all I'm seeing right now, and this is just talking about the World Cup. I mean, obviously all these players have different variations of tournaments and stuff under their belt, but the World Cup is still freshest on most people's minds when they're thinking about these competitors, and we do have the advantage of number of people that placed in the World Cup.
Absolutely.
So about that second game then, if we look at that 9 o'clock slot on Wednesday, December 6th, we have the Los Angeles Valiant versus the San Francisco Shock. Gentlemen, how do we see this game playing out?
I have the Valiant winning, and to be honest, I am not super familiar with both of these teams. I know Agilities. I've seen him play, and I've seen Envy play. But to be honest, I mean, I'm not really 100% sure what these guys are bringing to the table, as opposed to, like the Shock, who I haven't really heard of anybody except Sinatra, who I absolutely worship. I think he's incredible. Like for such a young player, he's bringing a lot of talent to this, and IDDQD. Also really a very popular name, but I don't know. I think the Valiant has something that San Francisco doesn't have. What about you guys?
You brought up Sinatra, and he's currently listed as inactive, but
which is surprising because
it is surprising. I recognize Sleepy from the San Francisco Shock, very good support player, but there's definitely at least more recognizable names on the Los Angeles Valiant. That doesn't necessarily mean talent. It's there's more out there.
It's just my experience with these guys. I recognize.
You mentioned Envy though,
yes.
And Envy is as good of a diva as I've ever seen.
Yeah.
So yeah. So I mean, I'm probably going to lean more towards the Valiant for this one, like you were, but I think I said it last episode, we're just going to have to see how all these team dynamics work out. And this preseason is going to be our first taste as to how any of these people work together. And we'll just kind of see who comes out on top. Because you can have top-tier players, and if they don't work well with the other players that you got, you don't really have that strong of a team.
So I'm going to actually lean the other way. I think that the San Francisco Shock are actually going to take this game. My favorite tank in the entire Overwatch League is Nomi.
Yep.
David Ramirez, he is incredible to watch. Just the way that he controls, and we actually on Twitter today got to see a look at he tweeted out a picture of his jersey. He's going to be wearing number 7.
Nice.
So that's going to be pretty cool.
That's exciting.
So we have Nomi, and I think that Nomi is going to take these NRG guys, the San Francisco Shock. They're very much like the Mayhem are misfits.
Yeah.
They are sponsored by NRG. So I think these guys, Baby Bay probably will be playing Soldier 76. I just think that Nomi's Reinhardt is going to he will be their shield, and he will carry them to a preseason victory.
I'm excited to see these guys go up against each other.
And I'm definitely excited to see him work, but I bring up again that no one man is a mountain. We'll just kind of have to see how they all
How the
integrate.
team operates,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Now
Absolutely.
the big match at 11 o'clock at night.
Excited.
We have the Seoul Dynasty against the Shanghai Dragons.
If we're talking powerhouses, like
Yeah.
we can look at our Asian teams and our Asian players, and these guys have, and I've said this before, a completely different mentality walking into this game, and I use air quotes because this is not a game to them.
Yeah.
So
we're talking about World Cup winners.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and a lot of the Seoul Dynasty team are going into this, like Toby and Jaehong now mostly support, and Jaehong is probably the best Ana I've ever seen, and that's my personal opinion. But legitimately,
No,
the man is an artist.
The way he plays Ana is like top tier, unlike anything that you will see out there.
Now, of course, the Shanghai is nothing to sneeze at either.
Of course.
If I had to choose between the two, I would definitely do our Dynasty. I would pick Dynasty. What about you guys?
I'm absolutely pro Dynasty as well. I think Shanghai is a perfectly commendable team, but I'm honestly like I do feel a little bit bad and a little bit frightened for anyone that comes up against the Dynasty.
For
and
sure.
I'm 100% Mayhem. I have a very soft spot in my heart for the Outlaws, but if I'm gonna be the 1000% cold hardest realist,
Yeah.
Dynasty is gonna come out 85 to 90% of these games just looking amazing and taking it all the way.
Adam?
When we're talking about the level of competition and just the pure skill level, all of these teams are incredible players. Like you would not be in the Overwatch League if you weren't incredible. You would be
The
playing
inaugural league and the inaugural team.
You would be playing with us and
in gold.
in gold and platinum and being terrible. But the Seoul Dynasty, I mean, I think that they're quick. They're by far the most popular franchise, and in terms of like Twitter followers and things of that nature. And that's not just because they are the South Korean team. I think the players they have are fantastic, and I think that their social media presence has been fantastic. But they're a juggernaut.
Yeah, their support has been.
I mean, they had a convention.
Impressive, really impressive.
They've already had a Seoul Dynasty convention in Seoul, South Korea, and thousands of people showed up to take part in this convention.
Well, what it is just like what interests me the most in seeing this league get up and running is that throughout the years, ever since there's been competitive gaming in the public eye, South Korea has been on the forefront of being the most impressive of
For sure.
StarCraft 2, CS:GO,
Yep.
whatever it is, like they just have a completely different level of dedication, and of if they click well and if they know they're good at a game, and even if they don't start out well at a game, they're going to spend hours, days, weeks just doing nothing but locking themselves in an apartment or a small room and training and pushing themselves to be the best version of that as possible. And the public supports them 100% of the way. I'd say that there's some esports stars over there that are bigger than they're like pop singers.
The K-pop.
Yeah,
my
like
gosh,
they're just
absolutely.
Esports
They're
is
rock stars.
Yeah, esports is on a different level over there, and I actually think that helps a lot too. Like knowing that they have that morale and that support of essentially an entire country behind them. That's why I'm a little scared for anyone that goes up against them, because they're a force of nature.
So just doing a quick recap of the Wednesday matches. Glenn, Mayhem Fusion.
Mayhem Fusion, I choose Mayhem.
Colin, Mayhem Fusion.
Rooting for Mayhem.
Adam?
I also have the Mayhem.
Excellent. Next team, next matchup.
The Valiant and the Shock.
I choose Valiant.
Valiant for me, yeah.
I think that you both are going to get shocked. And finally, the 11 o'clock, that prime time. I'm going to be up till 1 a.m. watching this match. The Seoul Dynasty and the Shanghai Dragons.
I'm going to choose our Dynasty.
Shanghai Dragons, baby.
You contrarian.
No, it's going to be the Seoul Dynasty all the way. However, I'm going to be rooting for Shanghai. Seoul Dynasty just put themselves up in the Cobra Kai level of
Are they going to be the New York Yankees?
Yeah,
of,
they're going to be the corporate face
Yeah.
of this league.
So-
if the Mayhem can defeat the Dynasty, we're going to roll
gonna have
credits.
a
We got a
real-
Disney
we're-
Channel original movie right now. We're good.
Karate Kid.
Yeah. So I also have the Seoul Dynasty. Of course, I'll be rooting for the Shanghai Dragons. But you know what?
It's gonna be great.
It's gonna be a great match.
It's going to be fantastic to watch. It's going to be essentially on another level,
Yeah.
even for competitive Overwatch.
Absolutely. So our next day is Thursday, December 7th. We have the Gladiators against the Spitfire, Fuel versus Outlaws, Excelsior versus the Uprising. So my guess for our first matchup is gonna be the Gladiators. I am a Surefour fan, and I think his leadership is gonna be impressive on the team. I genuinely think that what they got going for them is gonna outdo the Spitfire. Now, don't get me wrong. If you guys haven't seen this, the roster for the Spitfire is all.
You can't see me. I'm nodding furiously at Glenn. It's an entire line. It's basically South Korea Part 2. But like I said, it doesn't really matter. Glenn brought this up. Surefour is incredible. And, I mean, obviously Team Canada got second in the World Cup. But dude plays McCree, Farah. When it comes to precision aiming,
Yeah,
he's got it
I'm
under
a
control.
fan. I'm a fan.
Yeah, but you can only do so much with DPS. Their support, I wouldn't say it's stacked, but they have someone that Shaz mains Ana. He's a pretty good Ana. I've seen him actually play one match, and then they got Big Goose, Lucio main. But that DPS is going to be a lot. But looking at the London Spitfire, they just I feel like they have more flex and tank. I don't know. My prediction is probably the Spitfire are going to come out on top of this, and that's how I'm looking at this at
Adam?
the moment.
Man.
It's a rough pairing, I know.
Yeah, this is tough. I am also going to go with the London Spitfire. I just think that London, having a lot of Cloud9 guys on the London team,
Yeah.
I just think that they're familiar with each other, and I think when you're talking early season, I think that familiarity is going to be more of a bump, like the Mayhem have, to kind of push them over the edge. Now, halfway through the season, when we start to get into to stage 3 and stage 4, when we're getting late into that season, I think that skill is going to catch up.
No, but they definitely have an advantage kind of out of the gate.
Yeah, but I think the London Spitfire are going to ride that to a preseason win. Now, we have an in-state rivalry going on in the next match. 7 o'clock on Thursday, we have the Dallas Fuel versus the Houston Outlaws.
And if you know me, baby, there's only one correct answer, and that's gotta be the gosh dang Houston Outlaws.
Hey, Colin,
sure, you can have Siegel. You can have Siegel, Dallas. Okay.
Would you like to go over the roster for Dallas? Because
I'll go over the roster
Colin.
here, because the Houston Outlaws are going to just wreck whoever comes up against them. South Korea, no problem. Houston's gonna get it. Also, I main Mayhem fandom, so I'm a big Mayhem is my main fandom. What do you guys think?
Hey, Colin, say ante up for me, please.
Ante up? Sure. I just said it.
Adam, what do you think before I completely destroy Colin?
No, man.
Listen, you have valid points. I'm going to get into actual conversations later.
Let's keep this civil.
No.
All is fair in love and war and interstate rivalries.
Yeah.
So, this is going to be, in my opinion, the biggest toss-up game of the entire weekend. I think that The Dallas Fuel bring a lot to the table. I mean, you have XQC. I mean, XQC.
Listen, you want to go over the whole roster because
He gets his chance.
Yeah.
He gets his
You have
chance.
Siegel
wrap it up then. I'm ready. I'm ready.
wearing number 23. I might add. Siegel
so
got
ready.
a preview of his jersey as well.
Also, the latest Heroes Born video released by the Overwatch League, featuring my boy Siegel.
Yeah,
So,
you also have
check that
Harry
out.
Hook.
Incredible.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that you have Harry Hook and he can play support as well as anyone in the entire world, and he's also as good of a DPS as I've seen. It's mind-boggling that he flexes that well.
Who do you think? Outlaws or Fuel?
I think that anyone can win this match, but I think if you put them up against each other 7 times, I think the Fuel win in 6.
That's fair. I am a huge Fuel fan. Don't get me wrong. Lord of Base podcast, Mayhem all the way. Go Mayhem. But if I had to choose a second team, I would choose the Dallas Fuel hands down. These guys are the best of the best. You have Siegel, probably one of the most popular Twitch Overwatch players, internationally known, literally one of the greatest guys. Played for Energy, played for a couple of other different professional teams, has played in tournaments. Said he wasn't going to play anymore, said he was going to focus on his streaming, focus on other things. Had to be a part of this Overwatch League and join with the Fuel, and everybody else that came with him that he could have brought with him or that were added to the team, also top-notch players. XQC, MVP of the Overwatch World Cup. Let's just talk about that right there. Like, that in and of itself shows how talented this guy is. You also have Taimu, one of the best widows in the game right now. You have Mickey, you have Harry Hook, you have a couple of other guys that on their own are probably the best of the best, and you put them all on a single team. If you think the Outlaws got a chance, baby, you are in for a rude awakening. Don't get me wrong, these guys are going to be, I'm sure, going to put up a fight, and their social media has been incredible, but social media is not going to win you a match. So I am going to go Dallas Fuel all the way.
It looks like you are fueling Colin's anger.
No,
Colin,
I'm going to say that it would be dumb not to say that the Fuel is stacked. Like,
Incredibly.
They've got that Jack in the Box money.
Yeah, they here's the thing though. They got corporate sponsors. These guys are the Cobra Kai of the American
You can't
League.
call 2 teams the Cobra Kai. They're not
buddy.
2 Cobra Kais, buddy.
Cobra Kais, and they're so in Dallas.
What is the dojo in like the third Karate Kid movie where he goes to like, or is that the second one? I don't remember.
Do you want to pause the episode and turn this into a Karate Kid podcast?
No, I'm just saying, you're the one that wants to bring up the Cobra Kai.
Because everyone knows what the Cobra Kai is.
Cobra Kai. One has to be Cobra Kai, and the other one has to be the other dojo.
The other Cobra Kai.
Yeah,
exactly, that's what you're saying. No, but so the Dallas Fuel is absolutely stacked. However, and this isn't just like my personal allegiances, the Houston Outlaws, I think, are so kind of like varied. And you have DPSs like Clockwork, incredible Tracer, and okay, so like saying every player is incredible is an understatement when you're dealing with like this level of competition. But you have very Banai, however you pronounce that. He is an extremely strong Ana. Boink is an incredible Lucio, and I mean, you just have a really strong team up here. And I think that at least in a first showing, the Dallas Fuel are going to be incredibly impressive. But
I'm sure they're also just like me, part of like the fan favorites. These guys have a lot that they're bringing to the table, and a lot of fans that they're bringing to the table as well. Because, like you said, like they're all bringing different characters and stuff like that. But each of these guys has stood on their own for a really long time. So
I don't know. I'm gonna stick with the Outlaws because I have faith in the little guy. That's why I'm a fan of the Mayhem.
You're allowed to have your opinion, even if it's wrong. It's fine.
I mean, if you want to support the bad guys in Karate Kid, then you go for it.
Did you figure out which
With
dojo
the
it was?
dojos?
Were you looking that up for me?
I was looking that up, but I actually found a quote that I really want the Mayhem to use.
Go ahead.
You know what they say about man? Now I forgot the quote. Now I look like a fool. I mean,
Attaboy.
oh,
3
man.
shots, 1 kill.
look at. Okay, here we go. Look at those palm trees. You know what that means? Yeah. Watch out for falling coconuts. So, Florida Mayhem, if you hear me, the fuse of your bomb is a palm tree. You better watch out for falling. Hashtag watch out for falling coconuts.
Oh my god.
All right, now we have, a traditional sports rivalry.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
New York, Boston. Red
Everyone's-
Sox, Yankees, Excelsior, Uprising.
Excelsior.
Gotta stop
Glenn,
doing
who do you have?
I'm gonna go. I was struggling with this one. This was the one that I was struggling with the most. Is Boston and New York, and I am gonna be honest with you. I think I'm gonna go with New York. Like I originally had circled Boston, and was like, you know what, this team has so much like that they're bringing already as it is, but what did it for me was Sableby. If you guys haven't seen him play,
He was in the World Cup.
yep, he was on pretty sure on the
No, he was.
yeah. So like he's bringing something else to the table, and I'm a fan, and I keep, and this is probably gonna bite me in the butt. I keep choosing the team that I have the biggest fandom to, but
It's not just Savo, like Mano, whatever his handle is. He also was part of the winning Korean team.
And
Like,
Flower.
Yeah, they're.
yep, Flower's not on the.
Oh, is he?
Flower's on the Excelsior.
Is he?
Yes, he is.
He's inactive, but yeah, he's
Oh,
there.
okay.
That's I didn't see.
Yeah.
it.
So on the
Okay,
South,
yeah.
on that
Oh,
South
yeah, yeah,
Korean
yeah.
winning
Flower was
team,
definitely on.
you have three Excelsior players and 3 Seoul Dynasty players. So you split the winning
Yeah.
South Korean team up and sent them to 2 different teams. It's going to be
It's rough for anyone that goes against either
of those guys. Yeah, absolutely.
Like, I put my vote of confidence towards the Spitfire earlier, but if I'm being honest, the Excelsior probably have just as strong of at least a South Korean lineup as, I'm going to say it, maybe as the Dynasty.
Absolutely.
Because they split, like Adam said, they split that team right down the middle, but they didn't diversify really where they sent them. It's just one stayed in South Korea, or one half stayed in South Korea, one half went to New York.
And like I said, I had picked Boston. I wanted them to be the underdogs. I thought this was going to happen, and then I just kept staring at that Excelsior roster and was like, nah.
Well, they're still gonna be the underdogs. I mean, especially because the odds are definitely stacked against them. But I'm gonna say just like pre-game speculation right now, my money would be on the Excelsior.
I think, though, that when you look at the Boston Uprising, they're owned by the Kraft family, the same family that owns the New England Patriots. So it's
Kraft.
the Kraft.
The same Kraft family that owns Kraft mac and cheese. Sponsored content. Pay us.
Watch out for palm trees. Coconuts.
I personally think that Kraft is the Cobra Kai of mac and cheese.
Well, a lot of NFL fans like myself do think that of the New England Patriots. So it's interesting because, we look at this matchup of the Excelsior and the Uprising, and you kind of get a feeling of, poor Uprising having to play the Excelsior in the preseason. But then you also remember how much money that the ownership team has, and just it speaks of volumes to this league.
I mean, in the same breath, you can throw as much money towards. First off, this is not me speaking ill of the Boston Uprising. They haven't played a game yet, so I don't know how well they work together. But you can throw as much money into a mediocre team as you want, and unless you just get better talent or better training and just kind of up the ante there, you're not really going to go anywhere.
But I'm just thinking more of the success of the league. Mm-hmm. Just having that money to promote the league and promote these teams. I honestly think that the Excelsior are going to win this match, but I think that just having an ownership group like the Kraft family in the Overwatch League, it can only be beneficial.
No, yeah, the Uprising are definitely a group to keep an eye on, but pitting them against the Excelsior as their first match, I kind of go in with an inherent bias towards the Excelsior.
So when we look at these 3 matches on Thursday, the Gladiators and the Spitfire, Glenn, who do you have?
I have Gladiators.
Colin?
I definitely have the Spitfire.
I am also leaning towards the London Spitfire. The highly contested coconut match between the Dallas Fuel and the Houston Outlaws. Colin, let's start off with you.
There's only one choice here,
False.
and it's the Danielson-esque Houston Outlaws.
Say up the ante, Colin.
I feel I'm gonna take the Neil Patrick Harris route here and say that Daniel User was the true villain of the Karate Kid. The Karate Kid was not about him. It was about the Cobra Kai dojo and how they were essentially snuffed out by this terrible teenage boy who had no purpose being in that tournament.
So can I edit this episode so I can just cut that part out real quick?
So I'm guessing you're going with the Dallas Fuel,
Dallas
Glenn.
Fuel all the way.
I also have the Dallas Fuel.
Yeah.
The last match between the New York Excelsior.
Excelsior!
I was waiting for you to do that.
There you go.
And the Boston Uprising. Glenn, who do you have?
New York.
Yeah, New York for me as well.
New York as well. So we have those matchup predictions for the first 2 days of the preseason. Now, gentlemen, when we look at the preseason and when it ends on December 9th, let's just take an early look. Who do you think are going to be the top 3 teams heading into the regular season? Glenn, let's start off with you.
Honestly, I think the Seoul Dynasty is gonna be a powerhouse coming out, and they're gonna come out swinging. I think they're gonna probably make it a really big impression on us. I mean, Shanghai is, again, nothing to sneeze at. I honestly think they're gonna put up a fight, but I think Seoul Dynasty is really gonna be a big team, a really big contender, somebody to watch out for, and I don't know. I genuinely believe, from what we saw in the World Cup, that these guys have a really strong chance. And that's my number 1 team. After that, it's kind of a toss up. I really want the Mayhem to be a powerhouse, but they're on the same level as the Fuel for me right now. Like my loyalty to the Mayhem is rivaled by my strong feelings for the Fuel, because I genuinely think that the Fuel has the best chance to beat Dynasty out of all the teams that we have, and the Mayhem is pure loyalty. I think these guys have a good chance. If we look at the roster and if we look at what they're bringing to the table, I genuinely think these guys have an incredible chance for the preseason, an incredible chance for the season overall. I think the 6-man team is not going to inhibit them. I think it's just going to make them stronger, but the Fuel is undeniably stacked. So they're kind of tied. So for my second and third teams, I'm going to say Mayhem and I'm going to say Dallas.
All right.
Colin, what about you?
So I had initially a different outlook going into this.
For those of you at home, Colin just texted me a Cobra Kai picture while we're doing this broadcast. Let's focus, Colin. Let's focus.
So initially, I went in with my top 3 being Seoul, Dallas, and Houston. But after really taking a step back and looking at the full rosters of everything and kind of just reevaluating how your guys' opinions are also going on this, my top 3 afterwards is going to be Seoul at number 1, just because, like I said, they're a force of nature. They're really something, I guess, like different entirely, at least in my mind. Maybe this season will humanize them. Maybe they'll just like become another team. I doubt it, but so far going in, it's just going to be number 1, Seoul. Number 2, I'm going to hold at Dallas, because Dallas, honestly, for all the like Houston v Dallas stuff that I went through, Dallas is stacked beyond belief. You have those not only fan favorites, but probably the top American players
Absolutely.
in that team. You have healthy sponsorship already behind them. Like, this is going to be probably the biggest American team. I can see it right now. But at my number 3, and this probably could also be a contender for number 2, you had the New York Excelsior.
Excelsior.
I think they're going to be a beast to go up against. Not solely because they have 3 World Cup winners as part of their team, but that does not hurt. I just think that experience and that kind of leadership of that top 3, even if one is inactive, like, you're going to run into a lot of, I guess, high-level play that's going to be able to not necessarily teach, since they also made it onto the team, but kind of expand the play styles of the other members of that team. However, so if New York and Dallas are technically tied for my number 2, I'm going to have to throw another tie of Mayhem and Houston at number 3.
Oh, yeah?
Just because my loyalties are split. I'm primarily a Mayhem fan, but I want to see Houston take it all the way.
As your home city.
Yeah. If we're doing just a strictly objective top 3, though, Seoul, Dallas, New York.
Adam?
All right, so I think number 1, I'm not gonna do what Colin does and choose 12 teams and tie them all at second and third.
I gave an objective view at the end. Gotta pay attention, Adam.
Wow.
Gotta use those listening ears.
All right, Cobra Kai. Cobra Kai Colin.
Don't you label me that.
I think coming out of the preseason, I have the Seoul Dynasty in the first spot. I think it's hard, at least this early in the season, not to put them at number 1. They have a lot of hype going in behind them.
Definitely.
At second, I have the London Spitfire. I really like this London team. I think that a lot of people really they're not really viewing them the same way that you're viewing teams like Dallas, teams like Shanghai. I think that they work well together. I think, having a team that has played together before and they have a large staff. I really like Closer, their support, and Fury, one of their flexes. I follow them both. So it might just be my bias of, again, who I view. But I think the Spitfire are going to have a really good team. And in third, coming out of the preseason into the regular season, I have the Florida Mayhem. I think, again, having 4 of the 6 players played together in the World Cup, coming in third place, I think the pieces that they've added have been phenomenal. And I just think that when we look at this small sample size, the Florida Mayhem, they're just going to have an incredible team. And I think that we're going to see their strength early on in the preseason.
There's no doubt there. Yeah.
Very, very quickly, because we are essentially out of time now. What is the number 1 match that you want to see out of all of this?
I want to see the Florida Mayhem go up against the Seoul Dynasty.
Awesome.
I want to see little guy versus this
Well,
behemoth.
perfect. Okay, so let's just do this. What team do you want to see the Mayhem go up against, Adam?
I would like to see the Florida Mayhem go up against the Dallas Fuel.
Me too. That was before this we did our top 3 matches that we wanted to see, and that was definitely my number 1. I want to see that matchup happen. All right, so we've done our what we want to see. We've done our quick who's gonna win matches, and we did our top 3 powerhouse teams. A lot of information going into this episode. And we still have plenty more to talk about. So we are going to keep doing these podcasts. We're going to keep pumping these out as we can before the preseason. Once the preseason starts, we're going to focus a lot on the matches and what all these teams are bringing to the table. And then we're just going to keep going from there until the season actually starts and we get into the full swing of things. So we really appreciate you guys listening so far. Please follow us on our social media. We have Twitter. We have Reddit. Adam, do you want to do the Twitter handle real quick?
Yes, over on Twitter we are at OW League Now. The OW stands for Overwatch.
And the now stands for now.
Stop stealing my bid.
What a Cobra Kai thing to do.
Yeah, sweet the leg, Glenn.
We are on Reddit, You can find us. Our handle on Reddit is Overwatch League Now. We are also on iTunes.
We are officially on iTunes,
So-
and we are also on SoundCloud. So if you
And-
want to look up Overwatch League Now on either one of those two and listen in, please listen and subscribe. We would really appreciate it. You guys did that for us. And please reach out to us. We would love to hear from you, what you want us to talk about, anything you want to contribute. If you want to side with me on the Cobra Kai side and tell Colin that he is wrong, that's also fine too.
Colin, say ante up.
It's your catchphrase. Say it.
He's not dancing.
I'm just gonna sit here in silence.
So also feel free to leave us a comment, like Glenn said. Let us know what you like about the show, what you hate about the show. Tell us that Colin's wrong. Tell us that Glenn's wrong. Leave a comment, hashtag Team Colin or hashtag Team Glenn.
That would be amazing.
You can tweet at us.
We're also going
Only
to
one.
post all of our brackets and stuff for you guys to actually see, and a blank one for you to fill in if you really want to post that and send it to us. We really appreciate that as well. So
Also, before we go, can we get a little bet between the Outlaws and Fuel game? I think the person that loses should have to write a poem about the team, their opposing team. So if the Fuel win,
I support the Fuel. Glenn, you got to be the Outlaws.
oh, you're the worst. You're the
oh
absolute
how
worst.
allegiances change.
How the turntables turn. Okay, guys, thank you so much. Oh, and a quick shout out to Skylink for our intro music. We really appreciate it. Please listen through the rest of the podcast to hear the song. For Overwatch League News and Overwatch League Now, my name is Glenn.
I'm Adam.
And I'm Colin.
Thanks for listening, guys. We'll catch you next time.
Stay on the payload.
Please.
Or do what you want. It's fine.
Cobra Kai.
One shot, one kill.
Cheers up! The cavalry's here!
Nerf 我が this! 敵を食らう Heroes never die.